This is the moment every sugar addict knows. A craving hits, and it doesn't feel optional. It feels urgent, emotional, almost panicky even. Like something is wrong and you need to fix it right now. Most people assume that means they're hungry, weak-willed, or out of control. But that's not what's happening. Sugar cravings don't feel urgent because your body needs food. They feel urgent because your brain thinks something important has been taken away. After 13 years making desserts that got people addicted, I learned something that changed everything about cravings. And once you understand that, the entire experience changes. In my last video, Your Brain on Sugar, I broke down what sugar actually does to your brain and why cravings aren't a personal failure. This video explains why cravings feel so intense in the first place and why trying to ignore them almost always backfires. Because cravings aren't a test of willpower, they're a neurochemical alarm. Every time you eat sugar, you get a fast dopamine spike. Not just pleasure, but relief. I used to taste desserts all day in Michelin-starred kitchens. Every spoonful of chocolate mousse, every bite of caramel tart. I thought I was just doing my job, but I was actually training my brain to need that hit. Relief from stress, boredom, anxiety, and emotional discomfort. Over time, your brain learns something very specific. Sugar equals safety. So when you remove sugar, your brain doesn't calmly say, "Oh, okay, we'll adapt." It says something that kept us regulated is now gone, and dopamine drops. When dopamine drops, your brain interprets that as danger, loss, and instability. Ever wonder why it's 3 p.m, you're stressed about a deadline, and you suddenly need that chocolate bar? That's why cravings don't feel like, "I'd quite like something sweet." They feel like, "I need this right now." That urgency isn't hunger, it's dopamine withdrawal. This is where most people make the wrong move. They try to distract themselves, white knuckle it, and then tell themselves to be disciplined. But willpower works in the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of the brain. Cravings come from deeper systems, reward circuitry, survival signaling, and emotional regulation. So you're trying to use logic to override a system designed to keep you alive. That's why it feels exhausting. In professional kitchens, I watched colleagues try to resist the desserts around them all day. But the ones who lasted didn't fight the cravings, they understood them. And why people eventually cave, not because they're undisciplined, but because the brain always wins prolonged fights. Here's the shift that changes everything. A sugar craving is not a command, it's a signal. It's your brain saying, "We've lost a fast source of dopamine and stability." Once you see that, the goal stops being, "How do I fight this craving?" and becomes, "How do I stabilize my brain while it heals?" That's a completely different approach. And it's why the first few days without sugar feel intense. Not because something is wrong, but because your brain is recalibrating. If cravings have ever made you feel weak-willed, undisciplined, or out of control, I want you to hear this clearly. This isn't a setback, it's a neurological adjustment. Cravings feel urgent not because you need sugar, but because your reward system is recalibrating. If you haven't watched the first video in this series yet, Your Brain on Sugar, I recommend starting there. I'll link it in the description below. It explains what sugar actually does to your brain and why cravings aren't a willpower problem. In the next episode, I'll walk you through what actually happens in the first 48 hours without sugar, hour by hour, why anxiety spikes before clarity, and why so many people experience a sudden shift around day 2. I'll link it on the screen here. And if you want support through that early phase, I've created a free sugar detox brain map and a private community where I'll walk you through this process step by step. Links are in the description below. And if this is helping you, please subscribe. This series is just getting started, and I want you to know I'm rooting for you, and I'll see you in the next one.